So I'm going to go ahead and go over to my Octane custom layout that I've made. And it might be different than yours, is I've customized my interface to adhere to what I'm comfortable working in. And you'll hear me say this throughout my entire career in making tutorials here, that you need to customize your interface to how you want it. I mean, these companies who create these pieces of software for our creative content creating has made these panels to be customizable. These buttons are movable. You can make them vertical, you can make them horizontal. It's really up to you. And I would venture to say that if you're not customizing your interfaces, then what really are you doing to be efficient with your work? You need to do this. And so anyway, here I have my custom layout in Cinema 4D, and I've got my live viewer here for Octane, and I've got a little small window here for the perspective view. I only work when I'm working with Octane. A lot of times I just work within the live viewer, but if I ever really need to do anything like modeling or anything like that, I definitely go to a new workflow layout that I've set up for those specific things. But when I'm working with Octane, this is the setup that I have here. And so let's dive right into this. So I'm going to go ahead and click this button here that will send my scene over to the plugin, which is a bridge to Octane render itself, and it's viewing my live scene here in the perspective view. Right now there's nothing there, and the default is white or light gray. Next, I'm going to walk you through how I made this scene here. You can see it coming on the screen right about now, and I made several different looks out of this with this technique. Octane really does a really good job at quickly getting us some different looks within the plugin in Cinema 4D. And I'm excited to dive right into this and how we do this. So anyway, here we are back in Cinema 4D. So let's go ahead and create something like that. So, all right, so I'm going to pull this over just ever so slightly. And I'm not really modeling per se. I'm just setting up the scene. So I don't need this perspective to be so large. But if I go ahead and click on this cube here, you can see that we've got a cube in the live viewer and in our perspective view. And if I'm rotating around my cube, you can see, yeah, it's updating pretty fast. Octane is very fast. It's a GPU renderer, and it uses the RAM inside of your GPU to speed up the process. It's one of the best out there, and I highly recommend that you check it out. Anyway, so let's go ahead and create our scene here. I'm going to go ahead and get a plane so that will become our floor. And then what I'm going to do is scale this up like so, not too big. I'm not being precise with this at all. Next, what I want to do is scale up my cube here. Actually, let's go ahead and center our camera like so. I'm going to bring this over to the middle. And I'm not trying to be precise. I'm just trying to get a good starting point here. Next, what I want to do is let's bring up our cube. We'll set that on the floor like so. And then I'm going to be spreading this out like this. And I'm going to be clicking the middle mouse wheel on my mouse here. And that will give me a four view perspective, top, right, and front. And what I can do is, let's go to the right, and I'm going to bring this out like this. That way we're inside of this box here. And I'm going to hover over the perspective view, click again on my middle mouse wheel. And yeah, there's our simple scene for the box. We're not really going to see the box that much, but we're just kind of setting this up. Next, what I want to do is I'm going to grab let's do a tube here. And in this tube, we're going to slice it like so. And already it's given us the perspective that I would need. I'm going to take this, make this a little bit thin, and then I'm going to take it up a little bit like so. And then what I can do is, let's make the height pretty wide. Like, I'm going to go about like this. I'm going to bring it down a little bit more to where I'm on the floor. And then let's widen it just a little bit. There we go. Maybe a little too wide for me. There we go. Okay. Next, what I would like to do is add a light, and you can do that in the live viewer with Octane by going to Objects and then Lights. And then for this one, we're going to be utilizing the area light, and I'm going to rotate that on X, so where my light is looking down. I'm going to hold Shift and make it minus 90 degrees, and then let's pull this up like so. And then I'm going to pull it up just a little bit above this line here. When you render in Octane, anything in this grayed out area is not rendered out because we are in HD mode here, or 16:9. And so next, let's go ahead and bring down this intensity. Like so. Sorry. Not on the Octane light here. This actually doesn't affect anything in Octane, just the viewport here. What you have to do is go to the tag and pull down the power ever so slightly. I'm going to pull this up just a little bit. There we go. And then next, what I would like to do is just focus on this light being the light in the scene, not an overall skylight. So what you can do to mitigate the ambient light that's in your scene is, I'm going to go to the lights here. Actually, I'm going to go to the HDRI environment and just pull that in, and that will say, hey, Octane, I like this HDR environment, which is an Octane sky, to light the scene, right? And in this environment, I'm going to add an HDRI to light the scene. Here's the thing, we're inside of a box, right? We made a room inside of our scene, so we're not really going to utilize the sky, but it's now saying, hey, I've got a scene here, and what I would like to do is utilize complete darkness, because we haven't added a skylight. We're inside a room with no windows. It's very physically accurate. And so now what I can do is I can work on this physically accurate room here. I'm actually going to pull my cube a little bit further out. So I'm going to take the Z, I'm going to go further back, and then the X, like so. There we go. Just a little clean scene here. I'm actually going to pull in just ever so slightly. I'm going to get the camera down to the ground like this. There we go. And I'm going to be utilizing Forester for this tree here. And it's a little plugin that is very crucial when you're working with trees, plants inside of Cinema 4D. Check out Forester. It is a must-have for sure. And inside of the Forester plugin, let's go ahead and I'm going to go to the library here, and let's find a tree. I'm going to utilize this tree here, and I'm going to bring it down in scale by going up to tree parameters, and then, sorry guys, okay, all right, let's focus. So here we go. Tree size, we're going to pull this down like so to get this inside of our scene. And then in the viewport settings, render levels, viewport levels, we're going to pull that up to 5. And let's go ahead and get our scene looking decent here. And then let's go ahead and bring up our area light here so it's not so much in the scene. There we go. Okay, so now that we've got our very, very basic scene, we're not going to worry about textures right now, but what I would like to do is maybe change the color of these leaves, and you've already got your materials here. I'm going to make this Octane materials. Right now I think they're Redshift. So if I double click on this, actually they're Cinema 4D physical shaders. So if we go up to the render settings here, actually they're Redshift. So if I go to Octane renderer, then that's all I need to do for this, just so that way Cinema 4D knows that I'm working within Octane. And so if I go ahead and select both of these textures that are already pre-applied to our tree here, what I can do is I can go up to the Octane menu item within the materials panel, and then I can say convert materials. And then what that does is it converts these into a material that Octane will see. And then what I can do is, let's drag these new ones here. So the leaves will go to this one, and then the new trunk will go into these here. There's not going to be a lot of difference here, but later on down the road, if you're utilizing Octane, it's pretty crucial to use Octane materials with Octane, so everything is cohesive there. So next, let's go ahead and change the color of the Octane here. I'm going to open up the Octane node editor, and just right off the bat, what I can do is add a we can go into the image texture here inside of this node, and what I can do is I can add a layer, and I can go into that layer here, and then I can say in my attributes, I can say, right, I can go into the effect and then change the hue on that. And once I do that, then I can say, do I want blue? Do I want green? I can boost up my saturation. And if things aren't changing over here, let's go ahead and re-click our send scene to Octane here. Yep, there we go. So next, We got green. We can do any kind of color here. I'm going to utilize just more of a green look here, right? I wasn't really liking the tan or pink look that it was giving me. I'm going to just keep the green here. Saturation looks good. I'm going to pull that back just ever so slightly. Maybe give it a little bit of lightness. Yeah, there we go. So next, what I would like to do is, let's make sure this light is just above here. By clicking on the light. There we go. There we go. And so next, let's look at the Octane settings. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down a little bit. And you've got several different lighting modes. The default is direct lighting, which just gets you in the door. But I highly recommend that you, depending on your scene and how much realistic you would like it versus how long that it will, or how much data that your machine will be using. There's a lot of balance, a lot of give and take with Octane Render, but here we're going to use PMC, which is a little bit more accurate. And you can kind of see what happened there, right? So on direct lighting, we have a lot of these dark shadows. A lot of our scene is pretty contrast, right? But when we utilize the PMC, now we've got a little bit of global illumination happening, and just right away, I'm sitting here like, yeah, I kind of need to fix my green on my tree, right? So let's go ahead and go back to this. I'm going to go to layer again. I'm going to pull down the saturation. I'm going to pull down the lightness, like so, just to kind of get it back to where I think is decent. So that looks decent here. And I'm going to click off of that. And so this now becomes really powerful. So I'm going to be leaving everything on default here. So that way you're not really looking at anything advanced when working with Octane Render. But what I want to bring your attention to is this Post tab. So in the Post tab, what I can do is I can enable this image processing here. And there's several different things that you can work on when it comes to like lens flares, glow, which is this bloom power here. And just real quick, you can get some really nice color grading effects out of this. But I'm going to go over to the volume effects, and I'm going to turn on fog here. And then with this fog extinction data here, what I can do is bring this down ever so slightly. Let's pull this out like so. And then I'm adding some fog into the scene. Let's pull this up ever so slightly. If I come down like this, just work with these sliders here, and you can certainly get some really nice stuff here, right? So next, this comes to the part in the tutorial where we can get some really nice different looks inside of the scene. Okay, I've opened up the scene that I was working in prior to recording, just testing out some things. And so previously I showed you how I set up. So previously I showed you how to set up a scene like this with Octane Render. And in this scene, you can see that I am utilizing the PMC here. Everything should be default here as well. And then next, what I want to do is come over to the camera imager. And with post here, I do have everything enabled for the fog, and these are the settings here that I'm working with the fog here. If you want to copy that, go ahead, but I highly recommend that you tone these settings to your scene, change them around, make sure they look good for you. But at the heart of this tips and tricks tutorial, right, with Octane is, if I go back to the camera imager, we have this response tab here, and we're going to be utilizing the response to get a really nice look within the different algorithms on how it views the lighting of the scene, right? So let's go ahead and go to the very top. And right now we are on default, which I believe is sRGB. If we go ahead and choose the very top one, you can kind of see that it's added some color and some contrast to the scene. And if I just middle mouse wheel scroll, right, yeah, there we go. I can just kind of see what it's doing. And inside of Octane, it's really changing a lot of the lights. It will change dramatically in some of the instances. Sometimes it gets rid of your fog, so you'll have to choose this. If you like the look of this, you choose this and then go back into your fog here and then mess with that as well. But let's go back to the camera imager, and then I will select this one that we're on and then continue with the middle mouse wheel scrolling with each of these. And really, it's just playing around with these different responses or these different algorithms to find what works best for you. And this is a really good way to utilize Octane Render really to the fullest here to grant your scene a cinematic look. Maybe an algorithm might surprise you, right? It's really good to just check to see, right, you've got your light set up in your scene and everything looks good. Maybe you've got your skylight, you've got your sun, maybe you've got a couple of suns in your scene. But when you add the different responses to how your Octane Render is viewing your scene, it really goes a long way to finding something that looks totally not what you had in mind, but maybe it's a lot better than what you had in mind. It's a really good way to just look at your scene from a different perspective. Yeah, so this wraps up this tutorial here. I kind of liked this scene here. It's kind of flat, but it kind of takes away most of the fog than what we were dealing with, I believe, with sRGB. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys like this tutorial. If you want to hear more about Octane, let me know. If you want to see more tutorials in Cinema 4D, go ahead and leave a comment. You know, like this video, subscribe to our channel. It goes a long way in helping us grow this community. And you know, check us out, tolearn.dmi.edu. We're really proud of what we've built over there, and hope that you check that out as well. Anyway, my name is Brandon, and I'll see you in the next one.